Here's a real blast from the past, and slightly different approach for this video. I will share with you a very old model kit. I remember this kit purchased by my brother, my younger brother, and I don't know what I bought. I think I bought the Mitsubishi Dyna, but that's another story. So this is the kit, and it brings back so many memories. Love the box art, and as you can see, it is actually a very old pressing of this kit. You can see by the the box is tiny. Oh yeah, I think I bought that thing. And typical, right? This is a typical. Oh, there it is, Dyna. It's typical old Airfix. So love this kit. And when I saw it in my local hobby shop for sale, I just had to buy it purely for nostalgia. And I'll share it with you now. Take that lid off. So that's what you see on first opening. Classic instruction sheet. Oh, I love this. You know, where it says things like, locate and cement seat to cockpit floor 3. Isn't that cool? I really love this. These were instructions, and you have the exploded view as well, but you have all this nice, stuff to read. I really enjoyed building models in those days when you had this. And then you have more instructions, and then in the end, the suggested color scheme. Okay, so it was they weren't sticklers for it, obviously, but it's suggested color scheme. And they provided the decals for it, so you would have thought that this is the color scheme, right? But no, it's a suggested color scheme. Very nice. So put that aside. It's beautiful. Decal sheet. Now, yes, the decal sheet has not stood the test of time well, and it's not an issue because I do not plan to use this decal sheet, but I think it's something that we all need to think about when you pick up an old kit like this. I would pick up this kit anyway, regardless. I know that the decals are short, but knowing that I have this kit and there's tons of aftermarket decals I can use, right? Or, as you will see later, you can always find some other way of solving a problem like this. So it's nice to have the original decal sheet, usable or not usable. Okay, I'll put that aside. Remember this? This is so cool. This was the little sheet that you would send to Airfix Products Limited, Haldane Place, London, SW18, and you need to tell everybody what happened. Oh, what with Avenger, my complaint is, I'm missing this, I'm missing that. What's the part number and the date? And I remember sending 1 or 2 of these off, and they actually worked. I was amazed. In those days, right? You send off a snail mail and it goes off, and you wonder how long it's going to take to come back. My mom, would have to explain to me about postage stamps and tell me, stuff like, if it's air mail, it'll cost this much. If it's surface mail, it'll cost this much. But if it's surface mail, it'll take forever. And it was a princely sum at the time. But a few weeks later, a reply comes back from Airfix Haldane Place with the missing part and an apology from them, and I hope you like this or something. It just made the world a smaller place, and it made you feel like as if you were part of something bigger, a community, right? I suppose that's what YouTube does for us nowadays. So this is fun. Yeah. Again, a lot of memories. Now, to the kit itself. As you can see, it fits into this small little box quite neatly. Fuselage halves. Some slight stress stress marks on the pieces, but nothing too problematic. No warpage, as you can see. Oh, it just clicked into place, right? Very, very nice. No warpage, no sink marks, not that I can see. And typical Airfix, right? A lot of fine little rivets. I know some people call them, you know, saucer sized or whatever. It's like this is the kind of rivets you see on a warship, you know, but if you look at it, they're actually quite petite. And obviously, if you don't really like them, you can just sand them off. I'll try and keep them. Nice. What's next? Your crew of 3. And the Avenger kit is actually quite nice because the figures that they provide were actually quite well animated, right? This guy is obviously the gunner because the gun will elevate using that little peg. That's probably the pilot, and that's probably the radio operator. Decent propeller. I think there are some comments that this might be a little bit too fat, you know, a bit too pedal blade like, but looks fine to me. Okay. Next up, engine. The engine face. This thing goes on to something else, which I think I can find later. And then you have one of the undercarriage legs, and then the arrestor hook, and I think that's the retaining piece for the propeller shaft. Oh, good. What's next? Okay, you see, that's the gun, right? So what happens is that thing fits into the gunner's peg just now, right? So there you are. One of the tail planes. Now I want to show that. Suggests a bit of a sink mark thing down there, but nothing too worrisome or noticeable. Yeah, it's a bit of a sink mark or a, you know, a punch mark out. A lot more fine rivets. And those are the undercarriage doors. Isn't that cool? Next up, I was going to save this for last, but never mind, it's on top of the pile. Remember this? The display stand. You know, you would stick that one inside there, and then this thing goes into the bottom of the plane or something. I never really liked the idea of poking a hole in the belly of a plane, of a model, and then sticking this on, but if you're going to build your aircraft wheels up, there's no other way of displaying them, right? So it's a nice touch. I like this. But I'll probably build the wheels down anyway, which means I won't need this, and I can save it, and I can avoid punching a hole in the belly of my Avenger. The other tailplane, similar depression-like effect down there. You can see it in the light. Let me just flick it up and down. And more rivets, and of course more punch marks. Now these are going to need addressing with putty or something. Tail wheel. I like Airfix, the way they treat tail wheels for USN aircraft. Nicely detailed, straight out, right? The wheels are quite decent actually. If you look at them, the detail is sharp enough and deep enough. And then you have these zero-length rocket rails, still quite firmly fitted on, but quite decent and quite acceptable. Considering that this is a TBM 3, I think the rockets would be quite useful and appropriate. Good. So that's that. And then you have these, I think those are the radar pylons. I think, but you need to, if you really want to super detail them, you got to add some aerials to them. Okay. Transparencies. Now, this one is going to drift, but this is the main canopy piece. Not too bad, actually. I think with some dipping in future floor polish, I think this will look very good. I've seen these painted up. These look very good when painted up. You got to mask them properly, of course. I mean, that thing looks really complicated to mask. Thick, of course, quite thick. But again, dip in polish, dip in future floor polish, and it should work. Right. More transparencies. The Avenger had portholes and windows, and if I'm not mistaken, an internal windscreen. And this one, the other main piece, which is the gun turret. Again, a bit more masking required. You can see where the marking lines are. Yeah. And but commendably clear. Very nice. You really do need to paint up the pilot and gunner figures quite well. Some parts have come adrift. This, I think, is the part that goes below for the gun turret. I don't know what this is, but shouldn't be too difficult to figure that one out later. One of the undercarriage legs, the other one was there. This one has fallen off. The engine face, remember this? This is like a, you fit it into the cowl, and then the other piece goes on top there, slightly skewed, so that it blocks up everything and gives a sense of depth. And this is really nice. You paint it black, dry brush it with a bit of gunmetal and silver steel. It'll look pretty good. Nice shape. And now we come to the main wings. No provision here for how to fold the wings, although I think you can see the joint. But no attempt has been made to, like the Hellcat kit, right? To separate them out. So you have this. Detail, again, fine panel lines, fine lines of rivets. They're delineating the panel lines. Rocket mounting points for the zero length rockets are already pre-formed for you. If you don't want the rockets, obviously you have to fill these in using the method which I shared with you in an earlier video. But nice. Those are the upper wings. And these, well, no, those are the lower wings. Sorry, what am I saying? And these will be the upper wings. So that's where you see the wing fold lines. Can you see that line there? Okay, but for this kit, thankfully, they have not, Airfix decided not to give you two separate pieces. As you can see, ailerons are movable if you are so inclined. I would probably just glue them in a certain position, either straight ahead or drooped. Okay, so that's all the parts. The ailerons themselves. Oh, can you see those? Really nasty sink marks and punch out marks. Those need to be addressed. Tabs quite clearly marked. Okay. Yeah. Some work needed. And I do believe this is the cockpit, or part of the cockpit anyway. That's probably the radio operator's station. And then you have the pilot's seat here probably, and then the gunner is over here where the little circular cutout is. Lots of scope for detailing. But again, remember that the canopy is a bit thick, so probably not much can be seen anyway. So that's the kit, actually. Let me just pile everything back. I should get a bag for this, just to make sure, and for this as well. They really make nice keepsakes. So I'm just gonna pile those back very, very carefully, so that because as you saw, some of the pieces have already gone off their sprues, so I will just need to make sure that I account for everything. it might be a good idea to put a plastic bag or a Ziploc bag and put all these parts inside. But this is exactly how the kit arrived. This is how you would get the kit from the shops. Now, I said there was something different in this video. Apart from just showing you this lovely kit, which just brings back so many memories. As you know, Airfix has been doing a lot of reissuing. So, here's a double bill. This is what it looks like now in terms of packaging. A lot of difference, size-wise and everything else. But I picked this one up first, actually, because I really like the TBM Avenger as an aircraft, you know. And I've heard good things about this. So let me see. Let me just... okay, it's popped open. So, we'll leave that for later. All these documents come out. And then we have that. Okay. Now, nothing else? Oh yes, there's something else. Okay, so typical European Union stuff and everything. So you've got all this documentation here, which I don't think we need to. I did mention once, right, that you learn a lot in modeling, which includes languages. I learned a bit of French and German just by looking at that. Now, if you don't mind, I'm not going to take this out of the bag. Okay, but I think EU regulations required that kits had to have a plastic bag of this. Just to show you, you can see it immediately that the molds have not deteriorated very much in the intervening years. Okay, they look just as good, right? Different colored plastic, and I haven't had a chance to touch the plastic inside, but they seem to look quite okay. The plastic for the Corsair, which I built, not very good, but this one seems to work. So this looks great. Transparency is all there. Yeah, just as thick. Yeah, so okay, we'll put that aside. Right now, so I've got an identical kit, different vintage. Question, of course, is would it be fair to say that it's better to get an earlier pressing because then the molds are fresher, younger, you know? Or is it better to say get a later version, a later pressing like this one, because it's fresher and everything else? I think there are pros and cons. Definitely for things like decals, it's better to get the later pressing, obviously, because you then have fresher decals, right? And you don't have that problem that you had with the earlier kit. But in terms of the model itself, as you could see, there was no deterioration, there was no flash, for example, there was no like loss of detail. And to my mind, I think that Airfix invested a lot of money in getting very, very good molds, which have lasted a long, long time. So when it comes to Airfix kits like this, I think really you can't go wrong with either an early pressing or a late pressing. That being said, later pressings tend to use a different quality plastic, which seems to capture detail a little bit better, despite the fact that the molds are so old. Maybe that's how it works. But short answer is, old pressing, new pressing, I think you get the same quality, and I think that's a hallmark of Airfix. Instruction sheets. These are the new ones, obviously, and the new ones, a lot of words, but in different languages because it's a European Union country at the time. So this sheet alone is just information, right? And the history of the aircraft. And then you come to the real stuff, the instruction sheet itself. Now, one sheet. And it's basically the same as the old sheet. Now I know what that part is. The one that I was holding up just now. That's what it would be. Okay. Exploded view, you get all this, but no words, nothing other than, whatever you found here, right? A lot of difference in the decals, and this is where I think it's useful to get kits nowadays, and to make sure that Airfix, for example, and other companies get the right message. You have two markings options. The old kit only had one. The markings options for this one are, you get one which is US, on USS Yorktown, and you have one which is from RNAS Ford from the United Kingdom in 1952. Two completely different aircraft, two different sets of the main markings. Detail markings like stencils or those things on the propeller, well, they're the same. So, you know, you only had one set. But things like roundels, okay, things like roundels, they're different. So the result is that I can use one set of the decals to do this baby up, right? So that's the decal sheet, which, as you can see, I have quite prudently placed in a Ziploc bag years and years ago when I first purchased this kit. Yeah, it's not a recent purchase. As you know, this boxing is more of an earlier vintage. The later vintage is all red, and I'm not sure the TBM Avenger is available even, but I may be wrong. There is this protective sheet which seems to have become stuck onto the sheet, but again, not a real issue because this sheet will not damage the decals below. Cut around as usual. You can see right through, right? You cut around them and do the usual soaking off, and everything will just fall off. Okay. Nice touch, the roundels. The center red portions are left off so that you can then center it yourself and avoid that additional problem of out of register decals and making your rounders look a little bit cockeyed. But yeah, I like this. I like the fact that they give us two completely different decal marking options so that you can then have a full set as a spare. Okay, never mind about the little, you know, propeller things. You can always use a bit of yellow paint or something just to go and depict that, right? Not a major deal killer. Apart from just those two things, I mean, apart from those three things on the propeller, beyond that, you got yourself two sets of markings. Okay, so I think all in all, very neat package. This kit has stood the test of time, and if you've got an old Avenger kit and the decals are short like this one, the one I have, well, this is a nice way of making sure that you can do them up. And maybe one day, if I get around to it, I might build both and then show you what the kits both look like 30 to 40 years apart. Yeah, so that's that, and I hope this was a useful and informative session, and keep those comments coming in. They do inform me about what would be interesting to talk about. I think I have a couple of ideas for my next few videos, so thank you very much for that, and also for the very kind and positive feedback. I look forward to sharing more of my model stash with all of you soon. Take care and happy modeling.